Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Variety Sports Network. This is the Next Left Turn. I'm working on it. I'm trying to figure out what we're going to do. Guys, it's Josh. I'm back again. Aaron will probably be here. I don't know where he's at right now. We were talking earlier, so I'm sure he'll hop on. But if you've noticed this good-looking fella next to me, Darren Breyer from Fat Boy Fadeaway, my main host on the seventh inning stretch and one of our senior creators here at the Variety Sports Network, has decided to join us again so he can ask his questions and learn a little bit about racing. Darren, how are you this evening?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on again. Rain delay racing, I get to ask you about it today and all that. It was interesting watching some of that. If I don't, like I said, I don't always watch all the races, so just even little things like that, how they, like all the equipment they were using to even like get the track ready. It was interesting. So yeah, thanks for having me on for a little bit.
No, super happy to have you. Yeah, this was actually the first track where we've seen high speed wet weather tires on the cars, so that was interesting. We'll definitely get to that. I don't know if you'll be around for that because that was the back part of the race. But before we get into this race, ladies and gentlemen, I got some news from the week. I don't typically do this, but if you didn't see Christopher Bell's faux pas this week, I've got it here on clip. It's pretty funny. So we're just going to jump right into it. So listen to this.
I don't think that there really is a leadership role in that aspect. And whenever Chase comes into the car,
oops.
Whenever I don't even know what to say. Whenever we have a new driver into the 19 car. Whenever we have a new driver into the 19 car, whoever that is, their experience level will dictate how much input they have in the team.
So obviously, we all know with Stewart-Haas Racing closing its doors next year that drivers are going to need to be looking for new homes. And with Martin Truex Jr. retiring at the end of the season, there's going to be a car open at JGR. Well, obviously, Christopher here drops the ball and mentions Chase. And what was funny about this was Chase's current teammate, Kyle Larson, instantly went on X and was like, I don't have it in front of me, but it was to the aspect of, it was nice having you as a teammate. Good luck next year with JGR. And he's talking about Chase Elliott. Well, Chase Elliott's not leaving Hendricks Motorsports. That's just not going to happen. I'm pretty sure that he's referring to Chase Briscoe, who drives for Stewart-Haas Racing, jumping into the 19 car next year. So that was just a funny kerfuffle that I found. And if you didn't see it, guess what? Chase Briscoe is going to be driving for JGR next year in the number 19 car. We'll see who the sponsor is, if it's still Bass Pro and all the other sponsors that Truex has. But that was funny. I'm Darren. I'm sure you didn't see that, but I mean,
don't tell him the secret, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's news that's not supposed to come out to the end of the year or later in the season, and it for sure came out early. And you can tell Christopher was just like, "Oh no, what I did?"
Yeah, he was like, "That didn't mean for that to happen."
So if you hadn't heard it anywhere else, you heard it here first. Chase Briscoe is the suspected driver to take over the number 19 car for Joe Gibbs Racing next season. Next quick highlight video we got. I don't know if you saw anything from the IMSA Mustang Challenge that was at Watkins Glen earlier in the week, but there was this really terrifying crash. I don't know who the driver was. All I know is it's absolutely insane, and somehow he walks away under his own power here. So I want to throw this one up just for everybody to see. Again, these are strictly all Mustangs, and it's in the IMSA series.
To the Hobbs-coloured machine. Oh, huge off and over.
Boom!
For the 82. This is the McCumbee Magnolia racing car. And this is going to be a safety car at the very least.
So he lands that with a perfect 10.
Dang. Lost control of that thing.
So apparently the throttle got stuck.
Okay.
And that's why he couldn't stop, slow down, or make the turn. So, yeah. But apparently he got out of the car. Everything's fine. He's fine. Obviously, the car is destroyed. But we give him a perfect 10 for sticking the landing since we're getting into the Olympic season here. I don't think Simone Biles could have done that, at least not in the car.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was absolutely insane. And then the last clip I have you got for current event news and racing. This one goes out. Our thoughts and hearts and prayers go out to John Force. He was in a terrible accident today. I believe it was this morning or it was yesterday. And really bad accident. He ends up turning into a human fireball. I'm going to put up on the screen. From what I do understand, though, from the news, John is awake. He knows what's going on. He is, we'll say, okay for right now. I don't know when he'll be back in a car, but this was a pretty scary accident. He is right here in this blue car here that says Peak on the front. So take a look.
Return you to qualifying coverage of these
Boom.
play Virginia Nationals who wanted to share with you this harrowing footage from the first round of eliminations in Nitro Funny Car. John Force has suffered one of the most significant crashes of his entire legendary career, passing the finish line at 302 miles an hour and making contact with a concrete guard wall at nearly that speed. We will have full qualifying coverage following this footage. You will tune back in tonight at 5 p.m. Eastern on FS1 to see the full race coverage. We will take you through every inch of what has happened to John Force. He did leave the racetrack, conscious, speaking to medical officials. He returned you.
So there you go. He was conscious, speaking to medical officials. We saw him moving there. Oh, that's insane. He hit the wall at 302 miles an hour.
Just that fire pit, like the way they must design those things. My goodness.
Oh yeah, absolutely insane. But John Force is a legend in drag racing. I'm sure you've heard the name, Darren.
So it's not funny car racing, right? Is that what that's called? Or is it
I think that's what that one is. It's
okay.
Yeah, because it's Top Fuel is like the really long cars, I believe. I don't know anything about drag racing, but that I thought was noteworthy, and I wanted to share that. So for everybody in the racing community, we all know the name John Force. We know what he stands for. So yeah, it sounds like he's going to be okay. So no worries there. The legend lives on. Legends never die, right? So, yeah. Well, let's get into our race. New Hampshire, up in Loudon, New Hampshire. Fantastic race. It was a lot of fun. It was the I thought this was funny. It was the USA Today 301. So the newspaper is now sponsoring NASCAR racing, believe it or not. So, yeah, it was a different race. So qualifying got rained out. So they had to go by the rule books to set the field. Chase Elliott starts at P1. Ryan Blaney was started in P2. I mean, they had 7 laps of practice. So they really had no idea what was going to go with the cars. They were running the short track package. So that gives teams an idea of how they want to set the cars up to begin the race. And the race had to move up at the beginning of it because it had started 1 o'clock my time, 2 Eastern. Because of more rain that was coming in, they wanted to make sure they got the majority of the race in because this track does not have lights. It wouldn't be able to run at night. So it wouldn't be like a situation we had that I complained about at length earlier in the year. So teams were prepared before the race ever started. They had wet weather tires, in the pit lane ready to go. It was just a matter of when the rain was going to hit, not if it was going to hit. And it held out for a long time. We got all the way to stage 3 before the rain settled in. And I know, Darren, that's where you actually got to jump in and start seeing the race. So we're going to get to it real quick, and we're going to see if we can get there before you have to go. I know you're on a limited time this evening. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get to it. A green flag drops, and Elliott's gone. Like a rocket ship, bullet out of the barrel of a gun. He is off. And Christopher Bell took second real quick. Blaney I'm not going to say he bumbled the start. He just didn't have a good of a car to start the race, which was unfortunate for him. But he got his win last week, so he's in the playoffs. Elliott's in the playoffs. Bell's in the playoffs because they've already won this year. And Elliott just takes off. He just drives away with the race to start, and no big deal there. Hendrick's cars are always good. They have struggled with this track historically, but he's got a good start of the run. And at lap 41, Christopher Bell does end up finally catching up to Elliott and taking the lead. I got a clip here for you on that one.
It went from 3.5 seconds to 1 second to now side by side. Here comes that 20 of Christopher Bell. He's looking to take the lead away from Chase Elliott.
Won yesterday's Xfinity Series race, his 4th win in 4 starts here at the racetrack. And now Bell is showing that not only are those Joe Gibbs Toyotas good, but his comfort level is high here. Elliott ran out to a lead. It looks like he's getting a little tight, especially in the middle of the racetrack, using up a lot of track. That 20, Jeff, very efficient around the bottom.
Christopher Bell's car was super efficient today. I mean, the guy had it no matter where he was on the track, no matter where he was at in the field. He could drive that car from the top to the bottom of the track. So that was, like I said, I think lap 41, Christopher Bell takes the lead, and he just drives off to the win for the first stage. There wasn't a lot of drama and action in stage 1. It was a little unfortunate. Oh, look, I think we have another guest to join us. My co-host, Aaron.
I was having some technical difficulties on my laptop, so why not steal my son's iPad?
Hey, that works. Sorry I had to start without you, man. I didn't know what was going on. As you can see, Darren's with us. Thanks. Congratulations to you, Mr. Aaron. Aaron, in our weekly pick, he took Christopher Bell to win this race. So spoiler alert, if you didn't know, Christopher Bell won the USA Today 301 at Loudon, New Hampshire. So congratulations to you, good sir. On the,
and you know what's funny is I picked him at I said that 2:30 in the morning on Saturday, and then he wants to win the Xfinity 4 for 4. I'm like, oh shoot. And then took the W today.
He'll be my pick next year for this race. I will give him the KOD, and he'll probably finish 36th. But so we're just getting through stage 1, Aaron. I know you're trying to catch on. So stage 1 was Christopher Bell at first. Joey Logano ended up second because Logano worked his way around Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott third. Ryan Blaney was fourth. Josh Berry was fifth. Martin Truex Jr. was sixth. Denny Hamlin seventh. Ross Chastain eighth. Tyler Reddick ninth, and Alex Bowman 10th. So going into stage 2, obviously it's time to pit. We got to change tires, get fuel. Nothing really changes big there because everybody's got to come in at that point. Aaron, at this point in the race, stage 1, were you feeling really good about Christopher Bell? Did you think Chase Elliott had it? Logano looked good too. Or where were you at this point?
I was actually waiting for Truex to kind of step up a little bit. I didn't think Chase Elliott was in that good of a position just because I don't know if you heard in stage 1, I think it's when he was just riding second for a little bit that he was having a little bit of issues with his car. I think it was on the right side, so I wasn't quite sure with Chase Elliott. But yeah, I figured Truex was going to sneak in somehow and just start moving up. And then, I mean, again, I did pick Christopher Bell, but at one point I was like, maybe because Truex is in here, he's pretty good at these tracks. I was like, maybe he'll make a come up, but no, I didn't really have much confidence in Chase Elliott.
Okay, fair enough. I know he's your guy. I know he's the dude you root for. So going through this race, we know that this track historically, as you go through this race, this track just changes the entire time. So I was very unsure. I was like, all right, Bell had a great start, but can he keep it up? Will his team adapt? He's got the best pit crew, so I knew if they had to make adjustments, they weren't going to lose a lot of time on pit road. And then obviously it's can you stay out of trouble? With no actual real collision cautions in the first stage of the race, I was a little concerned that there wasn't going to be any action. But we get some finally in stage 2. And when stage 2 drops, it's Bell and Logano up front. And Bell gets out of turn 1 and gets out of turn 2. And he's got the lead. And in a matter of 25, 26 laps, Truex Jr. has moved into second. And I'm sitting here going, oh, great. Aaron took Bell. I took Truex Jr. They're 1 and 2. They're both JGR cars. But Bell's got a 2.2, 2.5 second lead on him at this point. And he's just pulling away. So I was just really waiting for him to get into lap traffic to slow him down, and that never ended up happening. His car was so well set up on the dry track that he could run that track at the bottom of the apron or all the way up in the third or fourth lane. It was kind of crazy how good his car was set up for no practice. I mean, that was my biggest surprise of this race was how well he ran with no ideal setup. They just pulled the car off the truck and said, let's go. We're going to go win this race. And they were on a mission. They were a team on a mission today.
Hey Josh, can I ask you a question real quick?
Fine.
So one thing I didn't understand as somebody that's not a race guy is, so when you have a weather delay, you keep talking about the stages, So yeah. The only thing that always, when I remember I'm watching it and the rain delay happens, it always feels like you get wasted laps. I don't know if that actually is a thing because it just seems like they're doing traffic control with the guy leading it. And it seems like once in a while it counts as a lap that eats into it. So how do they, when you come out of that long rain delay, is it the top 10? Is everybody still in the race type of thing? I couldn't determine, it seems like it would really screw over the person that's who's leading headed into that rain delay. Or is that actually not really that big of a deal.
So it can be a very big deal, but in the aspect of it doesn't penalize anybody. Those laps that they run with the pace car in front of them, they count. So if there's 100 laps left and there's a caution and it takes them 12 laps to clean up the track, there's 88 laps left when they go green.
Yeah.
So every lap counts. When it comes to weather delay, obviously that can screw cars up if they're not set up to have any moisture in the tires. They're going to have to make adjustments on the fly, obviously change out tires like they did today. But that stuff doesn't penalize anybody.
But it doesn't give anybody, like, if you're like in 9th place and like a little bit, that doesn't give you any type of advantage to start. Okay.
No, so like even if the cars that came out of their pit boxes first, they still got to get back in line to where they were when the red flag dropped.
I gotcha.
Yeah, no penalty there. So green flag, and that was a good question. It was a fair question. Green flag stops are underway around lap 124, 125, 126. They start. And obviously not everybody's pitting at the same time during a green flag. People are trying to pick a position and points for leading the lap. But a lot of guys go on lap 125, and Bell doesn't go when the majority of the cars go. He actually waits a lap. So usually if you're going to wait, you wait 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 10 laps to try to pick up positions and to get you to a better spot for later in the race. But he just waited one. I don't know if he just didn't want to get caught up on pit road because it's a little bit of a tight pit road there and didn't want to risk getting in an accident, but it worked out for him. At this point, Todd Gilliland assumes the lead. And we've talked about Todd Gilliland a couple times this year. He seems to have his moments when he runs really, really well. He doesn't cause a lot of accidents. He doesn't seem to get involved in a lot of accidents, but he just never has a strong enough car to finish up top. But today he took advantage of it, and he ran really good while he was out front. By the time everything cycled through, while Gilliland was still the leader, Bell ends up back into second, and Truex Jr. is back in third. And they are not racing like teammates at this point. Truex is giving him a run. Did you notice this, Aaron? He was all over his bumper trying to force a move.
Oh yeah, that's why I was like nervous when Truex was just climbing up in the I guess standings or however you want to say it. But yeah, that's why I was like, oh boy, Truex is gonna take this because now he's on his farewell tour, so he wants to win his ship. So, and he won last year in Loudon, so I was like, oh boy, a little competition here. Even when Denny Hamlin was around him too, they were fighting a lot.
I feel like there's bad blood there. I don't know if there really is, but I feel like there is because we see those two kind of go at it. But they are both grizzly, seasoned vets. They know how to race each other. They have a ton of respect for each other. Truex is seen universally in the garage as one of the cleanest, best drivers out there. So I think Bell knows what Truex is doing. Truex would never wreck his teammate on purpose either. But there's a risk there. There's an inherent risk there because we did see many times during this race heading into turn one, the guys would lock up the brakes. You'd see smoke come from the cars. It actually caused an accident or two later in the race. But yeah, Truex was fighting today because he needs a win to get in the playoffs because by points, he's probably not going to make it. He's going to need a win to advance and for the back half of his final season to not be nothing.
Yeah, I think he's like negative 65 or something.
Yeah.
He's like right at the hump. I don't know if you guys talked about this, but what do you guys think about like the turn 1 and 2, like this entire race? I felt like that was like the weakest spots for like any driver, especially with all these cautions that were like right into. Of course, every time we talk about it after stage 2, all these cautions come out. But it seemed like today turn 1 and 2 were the most heavy on like the cautions.
Yeah, they were pretty heavy. I thought 3 was going to be the heaviest one because that's where all the bumps are at right before the turn, and having to slow down off the straightaway to make that turn. I figured that's where we were going to see most of it, but I don't know if the guys were just overdriving the cars or what else was going on, or if there was just so much humidity in the air that it was causing not slickness on the track, but other complications beyond my knowledge and my understanding of racing.
I heard the guy mention it's like the longest straightaway or something like that, or it's a very long. Does that play any factor when you come off a turn, or like guys going faster on the? Like I just remember the announcer saying that he's like, well, because of the wet track, he was saying like it is a little longer. I wasn't sure if maybe that they're going too hard into a turn, or I don't know.
For a 1 mile track, it's a fairly long straightaway. I don't know how much longer it is than any of the others, But I mean, it's a good sized straightaway for a 1 mile track, and it's still considered a short track, and they're getting up to 150 miles an hour. And it's a very different track than Iowa last week because Iowa's much more ovalized.
Yeah.
Or not ovalized, but it's got more of a it's got softer turns, which is the best way to put it. New Hampshire really is just an oval. So they really got to cut down that speed to make that turn. And you have two defined lines in New Hampshire. You have on the bottom near the apron, and then you have the lane above it. But today, man, there was so much 3-wide racing that I saw.
I thought
guys
4 and maybe almost a 5.
Well, shoot, when they came out to the wet weather, it was 4 and 5 for the whole for half of it. I mean, it was insane. Darren, FYI, you don't see that kind of racing in short tracks because they just don't get that wide because there's not enough room in the turns for them to stay that wide. So with them being as wide as they were, it was because they were using the area below the line.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Apron.
Yeah,
it was dry, so that's why cars were staying down there because they could run it without slipping. And we saw a few accidents in stage 3 because of the rain and the tires and everything. So that was definitely something they had to overcome. But yeah, so Truex, all this goes back to Truex. Truex he stays on the gas and he's working Bell. And he actually passes, while Gilliland's still in the lead, he passes Bell and takes second place. And this is where I thought, okay, Truex has got a shot to take it because now he's just got to go chase one guy who's going to pit, and then he's going to clean air in front of him. Well, not too long after that, we get our first actual caution. It's Daniel Hemrick, spins out, no contact at all. He just gets loose and spins out. No damage to his car, brings out the caution. This is when guys actually have – the guys who didn't pit had a chance to pit, and those guys were Gillen, Briscoe, Stenhouse Jr., and McDowell. But Alex Bowman blows his engine shortly after that, and it was a weird sound because it wasn't like an engine I've ever heard blow in NASCAR, and it's been a while. I haven't heard many of these new engines blow. And when we say blow, we mean blow up, Darren. It sounded like a pod racer out of a Star Wars movie, in my opinion, when he was sitting on pit road. But yeah, they pushed him into the back. So he was out of the race. First car out of the race was Alex Bowman. That's a Hendricks car down. It's something you don't see out of the Hendricks cars. I mean, they're so well built. The motors and the engines are so well designed and taken care of that it's like, whoa, Hendricks blew a motor. That's odd. I mean, I thought for sure it wasn't a blown motor and it was something else, but I didn't think they were going to get back out there and race. But as we went on, we found out it was a blown motor. So we get this is where everybody else comes to pit at this point. So Gillen comes to pit, Truex, Bell, and almost everybody else on the lead lap. But Hamlin, Logano, and LaJoie decide to stay out. And this is a strategy play. They know weather's going to be coming in at some point, but they're going to stay out and they're going to push it because now you're banking on more cautions. We talk about this every week in stage 2, Aaron. Every single week we talk about somebody doing this. To me, it did not surprise me that Hamlin and Logano did. It did a little bit that LaJoie did, but he needs points. He needs positioning, so it makes sense. And after they cycled everything through, Truex Jr. would restart in 4th. So when the green drops, Logano was just slow on starts, just like Blaney was at the beginning of the race, restarts. So Hamlin gets out there and he clears him and he takes the lead and he holds the lead for a fair amount of time. And then we get another caution. And it was like, okay, here we go. This is short track racing at its finest. Kyle Busch actually ends up getting a little loose, slides up the track. He tags Noah Gragson, and both of them end up wrecking out. Now, Kyle Busch definitely got the worst of this here. His car was, I'm not going to say heavily damaged, but it was damaged enough you knew he wasn't going to be in contention. I got a clip here for that for you guys so you can see it. Actually, I got 2 clips for it because you guys know I like that split screen from the driver's view. So here we go. Here's the first one from like the race view of the audience. And it's right here.
Kyle Busch on the bottom of Noah Gragson. It's kind of hard to tell. I couldn't tell if Kyle got up the racetrack.
You already see him spinning out.
Contact sends them both around.
Tell me you want to leave RCR without telling me.
Kyle Busch not on the lead lap.
So here's where you can actually see he gets a little loose and slides up.
It just, it's a short.
Kyle Busch on the.
And that happens. That's part of racing. I mean, you can't get super mad about that. Obviously, Busch couldn't get super mad about it, but Here's the point of view field for it. It's just a bump, a get loose, and spin around. Graxkin was just pulled away from that, no problem. He just went in the pit, changed his tires, and got back out on the track. Busch basically did the same thing, but they had to put a little bit of tape on his rear bumper to hold it together. I mean, it was this is what we started to see, and I thought we would see more of this once it got wetter out, but we started seeing it when the track was still dry. But again, nobody else was collected there. It was a nice, simple caution, quick and easy cleanup. We keep moving on with the race. Come the restart, Truex is up there in front, and Hamlin's there, and it's good. It's good old man racing. I mean, that's what it is. It's two seasoned Grizzly vets going at it, and they're a little bit. See, I hate that we can't say trade and paint anymore. So, Darren, the cars used to be painted. They had paint schemes on them. Now they're just wrapped. So you can't say trade and paint anymore. But you see the wraps get a little bit damaged here and there. You see tire marks on the cars. But they were 3 wide at one point. And Hamlin holds them all off, and Truex ends up in second. And Hamlin's just doing what Hamlin does in these races. He gets in these long run situations when the car's set up right, and he wins. And it's infuriating because he's the guy who will rub it in your face that I beat your favorite driver. So at the end of stage 2, Denny Hamlin gets the win. Martin Truex Jr. gets second. Joey Logano third. Christopher Bell fourth. Ryan Blaney in fifth. Todd Gilliland gets sixth, so he gets some playoff points. Kyle Larson's in seventh. Josh Berry eighth. Chase Elliott finishes ninth, and Ross Chastain gets 10th. So a lot of the same guys we had at the end of stage 1 finish up top of stage 2, and a couple new faces in there to make things a little bit more interesting. At this point, Joey Logano had just racked up 17 playoff points, which were super important for him because he was 6 behind the playoff spot at the beginning of this race. So at this point in the race, he's in the playoffs, and he's jumped Bubba Wallace. Darren, do you have any questions before you have to leave? Because I know you're getting tight on time.
No, you got to go, but here in a second. But it is I am learning every week the tracks, New Hampshire. It's funny that these play like the weather. I learned about the tires part, like all this stuff was all new information. Like trying to take it in, how it affects what they're driving, what you're saying there, like the 3 lanes, 4 lanes, like just. Like I said, I like sports. I like to figure out the strategy behind why they're doing what they're doing. This isn't necessarily my main spot, but hearing Aaron talk about it, I feel like I'm kind of educating myself along the weeks here with some of the guys and stuff. So thanks for letting me come on and ask a couple dumb questions along the way, and you guys answered them for me. So you guys have a good rest of the show. Josh, I'll see you on Thursday for a little baseball talk then, all right? Aaron, take it easy. Have a good one, man. See ya.
Later.
All right,
see you, Darren.
Later, man.
And Darren's fantastic. So, like I said, you'll see him Thursday night, 7th inning stretch. We have a special guest. Bourbon and Baseball will be joining us. If you don't know who Bourbon and Baseball is, I highly suggest you tune in on Thursday night. It's going to be one heck of a good show. Lots of fun. You're going to get your laughs on this one. So, Aaron, here we are. We're getting ready for the rain. I got a couple other clips here from stage 2 I want to show. I think this one's from stage 2. I'm pretty sure this one's from stage 2. It might be the beginning of stage 3, but it's just a clip of some racing, just how the racing was. There's some trading paint. 2 Hendricks cars end up knocking into each other, which I thought was absolutely hilarious and awesome. Not like it's anything against these guys, just you gotta love it when teammates are racing hard and getting in at it. So here we go.
Oh, off the pace right here. I can't really tell who
Josh
that
Berry.
is. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right, Rick. The red hood 4 on the top was off the pace. They split them.
Watch this, though. Wait for the end here.
Joey's trying to get
the 2
by
blue
on the other
cars.
side. Yeah, it looks like Josh Berry's got his hands full right now. He slides up the racetrack, maybe showing a little displeasure.
Oh, Josh Berry is not happy with somebody. Oh, my goodness.
Boom. But you see there in the middle of that clip where Larson and Elliott end up touching, rubbing doors together, which I was like, ooh, that can be a scary moment if Hendricks were to take out 2 more of their cars. Oh, Aaron just disappeared. I'm sure he'll be back. He was having technical difficulties. But don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, I'm still here for you. So we get into stage 3. at this point, strategy is becoming a huge thing. They're watching the radar. They're showing it during the race. If you haven't watched the race, they're showing, hey, we got this much time. And a lot of the conversation was, okay, some teams are being told 30 minutes. Some teams are being told 45 minutes until rain arrives. So it was a change of strategy at that point. Take 2 tires, take 4 tires. Gas was not a major issue at this track. And you got to see a lot of different things happen. And that's kind of what set stage 3 up to be a little different than what we would normally see in a race, where we saw a lot more aggression early. And that ended up lending us a lot of action in the third stage. And that was before the rain showed up. And when the rain showed up, it wasn't long after this third stage started. So we get the start of stage 3, and Logano locks him up right at the beginning, going down to turn 1, and he ends up sliding up the track and hitting Elliott and bringing out a caution. Both cars had pretty good damage to them, not enough to keep them out of the race, but they had a fair amount of damage to them, and it was disappointing for me. As you guys all know, I'm a Penske guy. I root for Penske across the board. And IMSA, IRL, NASCAR, just it's a loyalty thing for me. But there's this, it's this contact. I got 2 different cuts of it. I'm going to show you the first one's a little bit shorter. The second one's a little bit longer. And it's unfortunate for both these drivers.
Contact between the 22 and the 9. The 9 gets spun around. They were already up the racetrack. We're going to have to see how that started, but big damage on the 9. Heavy damage on the 22 as well. Right front not rolling.
So you can see right there, the right front's completely down on Joey Logano. The left front's completely down on Chase Elliott. It was a bad situation for both of them. It was unfortunate. Obviously, Joey wasn't. I mean, by this next clip, you'll see that it's not like Joey was driving him hard. Joey went into the corner too tight. You can see the smoke come from his tires. He locked him up. It's part of racing. It happens. It's unfortunate, especially on a veteran driver like Joey Logano. It just, like I said, it's just very, very unfortunate. Here's the full clip so you can see the whole thing. You will see that they are right here. Here's Joey Logano, and here is Chase Elliott. So you just watch these 2 guys as they come into turn 1.
But just inside the 9, this is taking the green.
Oh, they got all that modeled up on the straight on a restart. Oh, Joey locked the left front up. He locked the left front up getting in the corner, and it just wouldn't turn.
It's funny, though, because he locked the left front up, but even as he slowed down, he couldn't get off the 9. Do you think it was a mechanical issue?
Well, let's see. I don't know. I think it just got the left front locked up, and now they're just hooked together.
Wow, that was crazy looking.
But that left front is pointed left.
Just inside.
So again, weird accident there. Something you typically see out of Joey Logano. He typically controls his car really, really well. Unfortunately, Chase Elliott was a bit of a victim there. Like I said, it didn't take either racer out of the race, but it did obviously keep them from being in contention to win the race. Aaron,
sorry
you're back
about
with
that.
me now, buddy.
I was like a red flag today. I allowed it. A fuse blew. So, was that the Bubba Wallace one, or was that the Corey LaJoy
That was
one?
Logano. That was Logano and Elliott.
Oh yeah, that one was weird. They just kind of just clanked each other, and I mean nothing. I mean, it looked like so. What happened with Logano though? Because they put the tire on, and then he took the lap and still felt uneasy. Was it just the tire rod, or was it just his tire? Because Chase Elliott looked fine.
That was after the accident.
His tire and
he said it was driving weird. It didn't want to go in one direction. The car just kept pulling different ways. So I actually, at this point, my daughters decided to be extremely loud and obnoxious. So, and I didn't get to rewatch that part of the race. So I don't know exactly what the cause was. I know he finished the race, so they obviously got it figured out. But it was just unfortunate because that's not something you typically see from Joey Logano at his age now. It was something you would have seen earlier, but he obviously locks him up. He was trying not to run into his teammate Ryan Blaney, and when he locks him up, he loses control. He slides up the track, takes Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott, again, could finish the race too, no problem there. But, again, to see 2 veterans get taken out like that in that situation is very unfortunate, especially this track where they're both very, very familiar. Logano's run well here in the past. I don't
especially
really
with their history.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's racing, That's not one of those Rubbins racing things. That was oops, I screwed up and I just took you out. My bad, bro. But like I said, both cars had moderate to mid to moderate damage, but they both could continue racing. We get through the caution, and Reddick and Larson are up front at this point. And I'm sitting here going,
how nervous
gosh
were
darn
you?
it, Larson's back up there again. Like, this dude, he may be the greatest racer on the planet right now. And if he is, good for him. The kid's been racing since he could get behind a wheel, anything and drive. And he's fantastic, and he can drive anything. And it was that when I found out that they were going to run with the wet weather tires, that's when I got nervous for you. Because I was like, oh, Larson can race in anything. If he loses this race to Larson, that's going to really suck because nobody took him.
Christopher Bell was pretty confident in the wet tires. I think he was talking about that during the rain delay before they went back. I think he said that the wet tires should be fine for him and his crew, and that he shouldn't really change anything.
Well, Bell was a dirt track driver, so he's always being a dirt track driver. And this is something they talked about in the broadcast, guys. So I'm not talking like I know this for personal knowledge, but dirt track drivers apparently have to find the best lane to run in. And that is something that worked to Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson's advantages because they're not afraid to move to a different part of the track to find out where those tires are going to stick and give them the most grip and the most speed. And it was very evident after the rain. But we're not quite to the rain yet. So it's lap 201 at this point, and Larson and Reddick are battling now, which Reddick snaked his way up there through all the cautions and the wow, I just had a brain fart. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Through the cautions and the pit changes and everything else that was going on, Reddick ends up front. I think he took 2 tires at one point to get himself up there for positioning. But Larson gets inside of Reddick, and they go side by side. And then Corey LaJoie spins and brings out another caution. Again, simple caution, no major damage. Nobody's banged up. No other cars are collected at that point. But against another yellow flag with impending rain coming. I mean, we know the rain is coming. You can see on the radar, there's this nice big set of cells just moving towards the track.
Was that his second caution? Because he had 2 like that where he just spun
that was his
no
first
reason.
one.
That was
his first one. Second one was in stage 3.
Yes, okay.
So we go back to green racing. Larson is right behind Reddick. He ends up moving up the track. They go 3 wide, and McDowell ends up down on the inside, but Reddick ends up holding them off. And then we get down to, we're just under 100 laps. And let me check my notes here because I got a couple of things happen here real quick to each other. Hamlin's still in the hunt at this point, and he's trying to get past Larson. They're battling for second place, and Hamlin runs him wide, and they do a little bit of rubbing here. And this is rubbing is racing, ladies and gentlemen. This is, I don't care what that guy on the internet said. Rubbing is racing. That's part of NASCAR and stock cars, and they touch doors, and Hamlin keeps pushing and runs him wide a second time, and he ends up taking second place. This is where I thought Larson would have a bone to pick. But the funny part was, did you catch this during the race? Larson's spotter says, he always does that to you because you allow it. And Larson tells him to shut the up.
No, I don't think
over
I
the
did.
radio. Oh man, I don't know if I have that one. I don't, you know what? I didn't save that one as I didn't bookmark that. But yeah, and then the radio went dead silent. The spotter stopped talking to Larson, which I got a chuckle out of. But he's right. Hamlin does this to Larson all the time and has historically beat up on Larson. And it's because Larson just takes it. And if I'm Kyle Larson, I'm getting to the point where I'm going to put him in the wall. One of these times he's going to rub me when I don't want him to rub me, and I'm going to put him in the wall and make sure he's out of the race. Because Hamlin's old. He's been around forever. He knows what he's doing. He's being a grizzly vet, and he's doing what he has to do to be in contention to win races and win championships. I don't blame him for that, but I do blame Larson for not standing up on 2 legs and saying, hey, I can do that too. I just choose to race you cleaner than you race me. And, I'm sure that'll be a conversation tomorrow morning at their team meeting or Tuesday morning, whenever their team meeting is. But, yeah, I thought I got a chuckle out of it, man. I really did. I'm not going to lie to you. But 2 laps later, we get into another incident, and it's my guy for the race. I picked Martin Truex Jr. to win, but he spins after making some contact with Keselowski, and then he tags the outside wall. Caution comes out, and I'm like, well, there goes my pick. It's over.
Karma comes for Brad later. Stick around for that one. I thought Truex was done too, because it just looked like he just stopped there for a quick second. I was like, all right, well, what exactly happened? And I'm like, he seems all right. I don't think he's going to be top 5 like he was trying to be, but I was like, okay, he can still finish.
So I have the clip of that right here too. I want to get this one up because now I'm out of order, so I got to do some searching. But this is the incident between Truex and Keselowski.
So Truex in the middle of 3 wide. Yeah, just contact with he and Brad Keselowski. I feel like Truex was trying to get his car turned to go to the throttle. Kes was already there.
I will say, too, a lot of drivers definitely knew how to avoid these situations today. Whoever was in the cautions, they barely got touched.
Yeah, I mean, it was but you saw a lot of the same damages on that back corner.
Yep.
Truex got it. Kyle Busch ended up getting hit in the same tagging the wall with the same corner where they were still able to run. It was just it got a little crazy there, but you could tell that everybody thought that NASCAR was going to call this race because the expectation was the rain that was coming in was going to end the day. So everybody was fighting for every position, every point they could get. They were doing everything they could to make sure that if that red flag came and they didn't get to finish the race, they were in position to get the most points possible. I mean, you got a lot of guys out there who are typically championship contenders that aren't even in the playoffs yet. And Rowdy's one of them. Joey Logano's one of them. Truex is one of them. I mean, you got perennial favorites out there that just are scratching and clawing to get in. And this was probably Logano's best chance to get into the playoffs, or he's just going to have to run for stage wins and stage points the rest of the way out, or he's going to have a real tough time. But we get up here, and this is about the point where we hit the rain break, and rain starts falling. They're calling for it on the radio. Everybody pulls down to pit road. And this is where everybody kind of sits and waits. It's like, all right, what's going to happen? Because like I mentioned earlier, this track doesn't have lights. It's not set up for a night race. The weather that was coming in was supposedly going to be very, very bad, and it was going to last long enough that they weren't going to be able to get the race in. But it happened.
They must have heard you when you talked about Charlotte. They must have went on Rise Sports and were like, oh, man, this guy, he's right. Let's just go or go the next day. Because did you think Tyler Reddick was going to win this if they called it? Because I was like, nah, there's no way they're going to have Tyler Reddick get this dub.
Well, my problem with that would have been like, okay, he gets a second win of the season. MJ gets a win out of weather issues. And that, to me, with MJ probably wouldn't sit right. He probably wouldn't count it as a W. He'd take the points and everything, But I just assume that him on a personal level, being the way he is, he'd be like, no, that don't count. That's not the way I want to win. But who knows? He, maybe in his senior years that he's in now, he's out there to win championships, and maybe he wouldn't care. But on a personal note, I just feel like he wouldn't like that W.
He did that with Charlotte, so he'll probably do that with Tyler Reddick.
Right. So at this point, we got a rain delay, and it was a good amount of time. I mean, the race ends up being 6 hours long, so 301 laps on a 1 mile track for 6 hours. That's a pretty long rain delay, but the rain looks like it clears out. The trucks and the crews are doing everything they can to get the track dried off. NASCAR announces at this point during the break that we are going to have a wet race, and now the cars have to be completely set up. So during this red flag event with the change to a wet race, all the teams are allowed to make simple changes to the cars, and they got to make certain changes for the wet tires, but they don't have the windshield wipers on it. They don't have the lights or anything. So you're literally doing this old school stock car with wet tires, but they obviously had to make some adjustments to the cars. They were allowed to put fuel in the cars to make sure that fuel wouldn't be an issue. And they got the track ready to go racing. And you know what? It didn't disappoint. I mean, there were more cautions than I wanted to see, so we saw a lot of yellow laps, but it was interesting racing. I think the thing that's caught me off guard most was during the cautions. You'd see the cars getting down to the bottom of the track where there was still a little bit of water, and they were running the cars through the water to cool the tires down, because if you don't know this, the wet weather tires are a little bit of a softer compound, and on dry pavement they will wear incredibly quickly. So they were doing everything they could. They were finding wet spots in the track to run the tires through during cautions so that they could cool the tires down and save some of the treading. Kyle Busch actually crashed under the caution.
And his defeated walk. They showed him with his defeated walk. I was like, oof, he's leaving RCR. There's no way. He stinks this bad this year. Doesn't have a win, even though he had 3 last year up at this point. I was like, whew, where is he going?
He got those wins with RCR last year, though. That's the whole thing. Like, he was on his RCR team last year and got the W's. I don't know.
Maybe he just doesn't like his crew. I don't know. Like this year at least, I don't think anybody changed on his crew, so that's why I'm a little kerfuffled. It's a Kevin Hardwick word right there. That he wants to leave RCR
earlier in the show too.
Question.
No, it's really weird. I don't feel bad for the guy at all. I mean, that's racing. It is what it is. You have bad years at times, but it is odd. He just can't get over the hump. My fear is that he's going to win one of these next couple of races, and then he's going to go on a tear for the back half of the season and end up winning a championship. Like that would be the most rowdy thing ever to happen in NASCAR. But he crashes during caution. Corey LaJoie spins out during caution. That's the second spin out there. It's just, even with the wet weather tires, the cars weren't quite getting the grip they needed.
And it was that turn 2.
I think it was turn 2. I'm
sure it was the turn 2s were just striking on these drivers today.
And they were, this was back and forth. Like this is just the way it was. I got a clip of the restart after the rain. It's Tyler Reddick up front and Ryan Blaney. But we want to give you guys kind of what the look was. Because what you're going to notice here, we mentioned it before Aaron came on, that we were seeing, or as Aaron came on, we were seeing 4 and 5 wide. Cars were down below the apron running. You're going to see Blaney do this right off the bat.
A restart on wet weather tires in New Hampshire. They're back under green. Here we go, into 1.
I mean, he is all the way down there. And then other cars are following him too.
Ryan Blaney running the bottom.
And didn't even help him because I believe he spun as well.
I think he passed 4 or 5 cars in one set of corners. He's the third car on the outside the black and white car.
But Reddick just had it going on. I mean, he was, at this point, this is where I was like, all right, Reddick's going to get a W here. I really thought he was going to get the W. He was running really good. The setup of the car was right. They were moving through the track. I mean, he had no issues. He was really good off the restart. That was the other thing. I mean, the Penske cars, I don't know what's going on, but the Penske cars can just not restart well. They just don't have the gusto at the beginning of a start. They are fantastic when it comes to long runs, things of that nature, but they're pitiful in the restarts.
In the words of Lee Corso, not so fast. Christopher Bell is coming.
Yeah, like I said earlier, he was a man on a mission. Let me see here where we at. So we're through. So I guess we're about 75 laps left at this point now that we've gotten going. Cars are actually running. We got through the little minor spin outs under caution, and Bell is chasing Larson at this point, and he clears him. He clears him. And this is where I was like, all right, Bell's pretty much got this thing wrapped up. But drivers are all over the track. We're seeing cars 4 and 5 wide. And I mean, 5 wide stacked back through the track. I mean, I saw it and I was like, whoa, what is going on? They were in a little bit of a lower speed track. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think, what was it, Jeff Burton or whoever was saying, oh, man, that 4th line is looking really bad over there. It's just like 4 wide.
Well, you were running the 4 line on the track, and then you had guys down on down on the apron, and it's just something you don't ever normally see. But certain circumstances call for certain moves, and the drivers were doing what they needed to do to complete this race and stay competitive. Obviously, when you're down on the apron there, you got to really slow the car down to make the turn, but you can get on the gas a little bit earlier as long as you don't spin the backside of the car out, and you can get down the next straightaway quicker. So it had its advantages, it had its disadvantages. It was, it was weird. And then we had a series of cautions come out here. And I am not going to show clips of every caution because most of them weren't any good.
But
so,
shout out to Christopher Bell, though, we're talking about. There was at least, 14 cautions. Brad did it.
Totally.
Freaking Brad. That's why I said the karma came. Brad did it. I was like, dude, really? You couldn't do it? In the final lap, you had to do it 3 laps left to go into overtime. But still, with all those caution stuff, and Christopher Bell, I don't think they were thinking he was going to go in for tires. I think after the 11th caution, and his crew chief was like, nah, like he's good. He's got enough. I think when he went, he did the 2 tires. I think at one point in the 3rd stage, but
I was cooking dinner.
Yeah, I was just shocked that he was just staying in that lead because he was before the 13th and Brad Keselowski. People were nipping at his heels until like 6 laps left before overtime.
Well, there was we'll get to that, but there was a point where the drivers wanted to start putting slicks on, and NASCAR was like, no. You're going to put another set of wet tires on. But we'll get there. Don't get too far ahead. But like 3 laps after all that happened, Chastain spins out in turn 4. That brings out a caution. We get no real pitting there. We go back to green. Reddick's still in the lead. He's going to turn 1, and he runs Christopher Bell out and rolls on him a little bit, and unfortunately it didn't work out for him because this is where Bell took the lead, and Bell just made hay of it at that point. A few laps later, Larson is banging down Reddick's door at this point, and they're battling for second place, and Ryan Blaney's out there too, and he's working the outside, and he actually power moves him and goes by both, and he ends up getting into second place. And this is where I'm like, oh, Blaney's going to do what he did last year, and he's going to have a strong second half.
Just remember, you're Ryan freaking Blaney.
Yeah, he's the champ, baby. The champ is here. So, Ryan Blaney power moves. Larson starts slipping just a little bit, not anything to be worried about. And then a few short laps later, Corey LaJoie goes around for the 3rd time in this race, and this time he ends up hitting the wall. Caution comes out, and again, nothing major happens here. Like I said, there were so many cautions. We're just kind of going to go through these real quick for you guys. Green flag drops, and it's Bell and Blaney up to start, and Larson comes in off of 2. It's 3 wide. I think Bell comes out of that perfectly fine. Blaney retains 2nd. Larson's in 3rd. With 37 laps left, we have our next real accident. This one I got a clip for. Somewhere in here, I got to find it for you guys. But it's Noah Gragson gets loose down on the wet paint around the apron, and he loses it, takes out Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace takes out Austin Dillon. Apparently, Austin Cindric gets collected here a little bit, but not that bad because he finished in top 20. Zane Smith gets collected. I mean, it was just like a grab all. Grab anybody who's nearby, and let's get a piece of it.
Was Hosafar close to? I don't want to I don't have a clip of that one. I know Hosafar got clipped, or the same thing. He just kind of slid a bit with the wet tires.
Yeah, I don't have a clip of that one. No. I don't have a clip of that one. So
poor Austin Dillon, terrible.
Yeah,
season. I didn't even realize that he's only had 1 top 10 finish at Loudon. His last 11 races, and that was last year. We finished 9th. Not looking good in the 3 car. My Lord.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think it's an RCR thing. I don't think it's just Kyle Busch. Because Austin Dillon was much better last year as well. There's something they changed as a team that is not working out. And whatever it is, if I'm Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon, I'm screaming in my lungs, go back to what we did last year. Because they didn't get a new car this year. Chevy is driving the same car they drove last year, if I recall correctly. Toyota had a change in their car, and Ford had a change in their car. I think Chevy was a year ahead of them on the car changes. But after that accident, NASCAR, this is where drivers started talking about wanting to run slicks again. NASCAR requires that the teams that are going to pit put on more wet weather tires, no slicks allowed. And this is where we are getting into the heart of the race. All the excitement's coming down to this part of the race. So we get back to green flag racing. Bell leads Larson and Blaney, and they do a little bit of rubbing here for second place. Blaney wins that battle, and he goes ahead. With about 20 laps left, 20 laps left, Bell is ahead of Blaney, but it's only by 1 second. And right before this, when Bell had the lead over Blaney, like when Blaney got into second place, he was like 3.5, almost 4 seconds behind. And within like 9 laps, he had cut that lead to right around a second two. So Blaney had the line. He was there. And I firmly believe that if Michael McDowell knew how to race, Blaney probably would have caught Bell and won this race. If you want me to be honest with you. And that's not me being a Penske guy and a homer. I think Blaney had the better car at the end of the day. But with 18 laps left, Hocevar spins out. No major damage. And NASCAR again requires that if you're going to pit, you have to use wet tires. You cannot do no slicks. And this was a non-competitive stop. So you could stop here, take your tires, and everything stayed the same. You didn't lose any positioning. At this point, we got like 10 laps left, and we know it's going to be a shootout. It's up front. It's Blaney. McDowell's there. Bell is obviously there. And this is the one that gets me. This is what I was just talking about with if McDowell can learn to drive. He does this to himself more often than not. He runs a good race. He's up near the front come the end, and he makes some boneheaded move trying to fit his car where it shouldn't go, or risks a low percentage move in conditions he shouldn't risk it. If it was a dry track, I completely understand, and this happened, and that's racing. But what he does here, I know he's fighting for the win. Like, I get it. Don't get me wrong. I understand the dude is fighting for a win to get into the playoffs. Completely get that. But let's be conscious of what we're racing in and what we're watching going on. We're seeing cars spin out every 7 to 12 laps right now because of the tires and the weather and the track conditions. But we're going to try to push it. That's what he decides. He says, I think it's in my best interest to push this going into turn 1 with 10 laps left. And it's a really boneheaded move. I wouldn't have done it. But, I'm also not behind the wheel of the car, and I'm not a NASCAR driver. But we're going to watch this here on the restart. You can see right here is Christopher Bell. Here's Ryan Blaney. Here's Michael McDowell, Kyle Larson, Josh Berry.
He had a pretty good race, too.
Chase Elliott. Oh, Josh Berry had an excellent race. So did Chase Briscoe. They're both again.
He must have heard me talking crap about him last week. I'm telling you, people are watching us.
Hey, you can't not watch us. We're too much fun. Oh, you have a special guest. Hi. Which one's that?
That's my son.
That's your son.
He likes racing.
Say what's up, dude. Oh, cuteness overload there. He's not going to say hi. That's all right. We'll give a shout out for him. But here's the clip. Let's just watch Michael McDowell be stupid, absolutely boneheadedly stupid, going into turn 1.
And the 34 gets into the 12. They slide, and they're going to spin in front of the field.
Park it down here. Park it down. You mentioned aggressive.
It doesn't look like much, but watch it again. Like, he's already sliding up the track going into the turn. He doesn't slow down.
Spin in front of the field.
Park it down here. Park it down.
Now, luckily, there was no major damage there. Both cars could get back on the track and continue racing. But that set everything up for a shootout at the end. That literally, that was the end of the actual race at that point. Because we all knew with as well as Bell was running and the car he had and the setup he had going on, all he had to do was get through a restart and he was going to be gone. Nobody was beating him off the line, and nobody was even close. So when we restart after that, it's 4 laps to go, and it's Bell and Berry. And they got a little clip on the radio that Berry said, we don't know exactly what he was referring to, but he said if he had the opportunity, if he didn't take the opportunity, he wouldn't be able to sleep. Well, we get 1 lap and we get another spin, another caution. Because here you go, like you've mentioned, foreshadowing for us. Brad Keselowski spins out and gets a little loose and spins out. And brings out the yellow flag, and we get another caution. At this point, we're going into overtime. It's going to be a shootout. It's going to be Bell or Barry or Briscoe, or if those three wipe out, it's going to be from somebody from behind them. But again, let's remember, when we go into overtime, once the leader takes the white flag, no matter what happens, that's it. There is no more overtime. So the green flag drops. Bell shoots out like a rocket, and he's gone. I mean, Barry stays with him for a couple seconds, but by the time they get into turn 2, Bell's just gone, and he just takes off. He gets like a second gap between him and Barry. And then the best part about the end of the race was Barry and Bell, teammates for Stewart-Haas Racing, fighting for second place. I really thought Barry was going to get it done. But Briscoe does just inch across the line before Barry there. Christopher Bell gets his 3rd win of the season this year at New Hampshire. And it was a testament, man. The guy showed up. It was a real testament to his ability, his tenacity to run these cars. He's a really young racer. I'll say it. He may be one of the next great NASCAR racers. I don't know if he'd be Kyle Larson great.
He just cares about racing too. He's just
he's
like
a good
Kyle
dude.
Larson-ish, where he doesn't go on social media. He's just there to race.
No, but he does love to screw up interviews and give out news he's not supposed to give
That
out.
too.
Which we showed that clip before you came on. I was trying to buy time for you. I'm not going to show it again, but we did cover that. We also covered John Force, and then we covered the big crash at Watkins Glen with the Mustang Challenge. If you didn't see it, I'll send it to you. Dude does a perfect flip and lands it. Perfect 10 out of 10, and walked away from the crash. But let's get into the results of this race. As we've said now, Christopher Bell got first, Chase Briscoe second, Josh Berry finished third, Kyle Larson gets a nice top 5 and fourth, Chris Buescher another top 5 and fifth, Tyler Reddick sixth, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. seventh, John Hunter Nemechek finishes 8th, Martin Truex Jr. gets 9th.
Yeah, and he was down 2 laps at one point, came back from being was it 32 at one point, and
he was
came back to the 8th. Shout out to that team. Shout out to Ernest Holden, man. Tire changer. Went to school with him.
Did you really?
Yep, he used to be a football player.
High school or college?
College.
And what college was that?
He went to Dean College first. That's where I met him, and then he went to Norfolk State.
Norfolk State and Dean College. Where's Dean College at?
Franklin, Mass. Unfortunately, nothing there.
Okay. I was gonna say I've never even heard of that school, so I was like, I don't know. But yes, John Hunter Nemechek finishes 8th. Martin Truex Jr. gets 9th. Ross Chastain gets 10th. Ryan Preece ends up coming in 11th. So, the Stewart-Haas guys had a really good showing today. For all the guys looking for jobs, we kind of know Chase Briscoe isn't at this point. I really hope Penske goes and picks up Josh Berry and adds a 4th car, or drops Austin Cindric and puts him in the number 2. I think he has the potential to return the Deuce back to the glory, but that's just a personal opinion. Todd Gilliland, another good finish for him. He ends up finishing 12th. Eric Jones ends up finishing in 13th. He had a very good race today. Harrison Burton needed a good race. He got it. He finished 14th. Michael McDowell, that moron who doesn't know how to drive in certain conditions, finishes 15th. I don't know how he got that high up after the wreck. Ty Gibbs, 16th. Carson Hocevar, 17th. Chase Elliott finishes all the way down on 18th. Cindric finishes 19th. Who would have guessed he would have had the best finish out of the Penske drivers? Ty Dillon, 20th. Daniel Suarez, 21st, after he struggled early in the race. Kaz Gralla, 22nd. Corey LaJoie, 23rd. Denny Hamlin, 24th. Ryan Blaney, 25th. William Byron, 26th. Noah Gragson finishes 27th. Keselowski, 28th. Justin Haley, 29th. Zane Smith, 30th. Hemrick, 31st. Joey Logano in 32nd. Austin Dillon, 33rd. Bubba Wallace, 34th. Kyle Rowdy Busch, 35th. And Alex, Mr. Bowman, rounds out the field, finishing 36th tonight.
Do you feel confident now that Hendrick has kind of taken a step back since they were the dominant force?
I just think we're in a bad set of their races, and that's all I really think it is. I don't think it's anything other than that. I mean, do you think different?
I'm a little concerned with Byron and Bowman, because Byron obviously had the three wins early, and he hasn't really done too much so far. I think he might only have, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he only has like 2 top 10s, and I don't think he's had a top 5 in a while. But Yeah, those two drivers are definitely a little concern for me for Hendrick, and I knew Chase Elliott wasn't gonna have a good race just because he said in the beginning his car just fell off. So I was surprised 18th, but I knew he wasn't gonna be in the top for long.
Gotcha. Well, next week we go to Nashville. What do you think about that? You excited for that race?
That's a good track. Yeah. It's definitely interesting. It's not like an oval, but it's got that little like dip to come in.
Isn't it more like a tri-oval?
So yeah, trying to describe it like that. Yeah.
Let me see here. Nashville.
It's interesting though. It's like it has that little like almost triangle type. I think it's in turn 2.
I'm getting a look at it. Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of shaped like Daytona. It's kind of got that Daytona look to it by design. It is a super speedway. I don't know much about the Nashville track, to be honest with you. So let me see what kind of specs I can find on it really quick.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in like 2-3 years. So,
I mean, they do the NASCAR experience there.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. But I don't know if you saw. I was watching a little bit of the ARCA series Saturday. I think it was a repeat or if it was live. But the guy who won it, he tried to do a burnout, failed miserably, and hit right into the wall. And just stood there. I was like, oh man.
You win the race, but you still destroy the car. Congratulations.
And apparently he had 3 wins in the last 12 races, 10 races, something like that. I was like, oh, so you're good at racing and you don't know how to do a burnout.
Well, maybe it was his first burnout. Who knows? Let's see here. Nashville schedule. Let me see what we got going on here. So the Nashville schedule, Friday, the trucks qualify. And then it looks like they race on Friday night at 8 o'clock. Xfinity will qualify on Saturday at 12:30 Eastern time. The Cup Series will qualify at 2:50 Eastern time on Saturday. Then it'll be a evening race is what I'm going to call it because it starts at 5 Eastern for the Xfinity Cup or the Xfinity Series. And then the Cup Series will start at 3:30 Eastern on Sunday. It's the Ally 400. It's going to be on NBC. It's 300 laps, 399 miles. It's the Ally 400. I'm interested to see this track. I know Ross Chastain is one here because I've seen the clips of him with the guitar afterwards in Victory Lane.
So you're going to pick the Watermelon Man.
Well, I like the Watermelon Man. I've been on the Watermelon Man all year. I might pick him. I don't know. I'll probably do my pick after I see practice just because I don't know enough about this track historically to just – like if it was Bristol, I know who I'm picking. I got one of 5 guys I'm going to pick to win Bristol. But no, I'm looking forward to this race. It's something that I'm not super familiar with, so it'll be a learning opportunity for me. One last question I want to get in before we cut the show here. I guess it could turn into 2 questions. Fox versus NBC?
If I think if Dale Jr. was on NBC, I like his passion. I would have picked NBC, but for right now, it's going to have to be Fox.
Okay, so have you been seeing all the stuff online where people are like, oh my God, NBC's coverage is so much better than Fox's for NASCAR?
That's kind of surprising because Mike Joy's a legend, knows his stuff. Kevin Harvick obviously raced for 20 years. And, they have Jeff Burton on NBC, but I don't know.
I'm not seeing a big difference in the coverage. I think there's a couple things I'm liking better on NBC for the first 2 races, but NBC had the advantage of listening to the fans complain or what they wanted to see from the Fox experience earlier in the season. So we'll see what happens. I'm not really here nor there on either broadcast. They're both doing fine. I like the commentary on Fox better, to be honest with you. I think the guys they have are better.
I didn't even mind when Tony Stewart was on for a few. I think he was on the NBC though.
Yeah,
when he was doing it, he wasn't too bad, and I didn't mind Jeff Gordon with Mike Joy, but nothing compares to the wall trips and stuff. Mike Joy, and I think Rusty was there for a little bit. Well, I'm curious with the Amazon team next year. I know Junior's in it, but I don't know who else is going to be on the team.
I'm so over Amazon. Okay, quick rant, and then we're going to leave. I am so tired of all the sports going to all the different streaming services. Like, the one thing we could always count on growing up was the sports were on your main local broadcast. You could watch all of them. That was your football games, your NASCAR races, your IndyCar. Like, you didn't have to have all these streaming crap. I hate it. I'm not buying all this crap, so I'm just going to have to miss stuff. This is what it is. I don't have Amazon Prime. I don't have Netflix. Like, I am not one of these people who have all these different streaming services. I have 2 of them. I have DirecTV and I have Peacock. That's what I have. So, I mean, it's okay because I got the Peacock stuff for a lot of sporting events, but and DirecTV covers most things. But I'm the football games that are going to be on Netflix at Christmas time, ain't watching them. The races that are on Amazon next year, ain't watching them. I do have Roku TVs, so I can watch some of the baseball games on Roku TV because it's free, but I'm not going to pay for any extra service. I don't pay for Apple TV. I'm not doing it.
I'm surprised.
This is my protest.
Peacock, they have a pretty good motorsports section to like watch and stuff.
Oh yeah, they
Why
do.
Don't do that.
Well, heck, man, I just found out I have Motor Trend on DirecTV. So, guys, if you don't know this, you get the Motor Trend network, and that covers all kinds of racing. I mean, I've seen in the last week, I've seen NASCAR stuff on there. I've seen local short track stuff out there. I've seen dirt track racing, Legends cars, late models. I mean, Motor Trend is a great channel to have. I'll tell you that much. I didn't even know I had it, and I'm kind of.
It's almost like the Speed channel.
It is. It's like it replaced it. Because I don't even know the Speed channel is still around anymore. If it is, I don't have it.
No,
okay, I didn't think so. And speaking of channels, Earnhardt Jr. really hopes that NASCAR gets its own channel. Like it's just NASCAR all the time. For some of us, it would be cool. I think there's about 60% of the nation that ain't ever going to pay attention to it.
That's crazy, and that's for someone like Darren, Fat Boy Fadeaway Sports. Check that out as well. Will really benefit watching those because it's old school races. They go from the 80s or the 2000s or mid. It all depends what they're trying to do or which track it is. But I think that'd be great.
I think it'd be excellent. We'll see what happens. We know Junior is going to have some power here, and I'm sure you heard that Haas is going to run one team next year.
Yes.
In the Cup Series and 2 cars in the Xfinity. I told you I heard a rumor that Junior and Smoke were having conversations. I foresee sometime in the future that those 2 are going to have a Cup team.
Yeah, he was talking about it on his show 3 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, and he was like, I'm not sure if I want to do it, like, blah, blah, blah. So he was a little on the fence. He was talking to his sister about it as well, so maybe they'll do something like that. As I know they had some, don't they still have Junior in Xfinity Series, like a team? Yeah. So it could happen, but I think he's either bluffing or he's just waiting for certain things to come into place. But that would be pretty cool.
He's waiting for certain things to happen. That's what it is. But I that's all I got, man. Do you have anything else for tonight's show?
Nope. Just make sure you guys follow this show, like, subscribe to Variety Sports Network. Trying to get, I believe, to 600. Throw yourself in the chat. Anybody that's watching, or whether it's Twitter or YouTube, and that, if you're in the chat, you want to ask questions, comments, just put it down there. We usually answer it on every one of the shows. So, and that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Well, Aaron, I'm sure you're going to be on tomorrow night for the Stanley Cup Game 7 recap after the game between.
Yeah.
I mean, hey,
me and Brandon.
Trust me, I know. You guys are doing a great job over there. But Edmonton Oilers, Florida Panthers, Game 7 tomorrow night for the Stanley Cup final. This will be for the Cup. I'm really looking forward to that game. Then we got 314 show is going to be back this Wednesday for all you St. Louis sports fans. We'll be covering the Cardinals and City SC because the Blues aren't doing anything right now because their season's over and Battlehawks are done and over with the UFL too. 7th inning stretch, huge show Thursday night. Bourbon and Baseball is going to be joining us, so make sure you tune in for that. Saturday Showdown is supposed to come back this week. They're going to have their first show of the season.
Monday, 8:30. Well, my time. It'll be 7:30 Central.
7:30 my time. Yeah. So, guys, Variety Sports Network, go subscribe to the YouTube page. We got a ton of content coming out this week. I know the last 2 weeks we've been a little slow, but the sports world's been a little slow. We're getting ready to go back full drive. Talking the Gridiron is going to come back here soon too. So check out all of our affiliates. Check out Wrecked with Ranger if you like Madden and 2K. He's even going to start doing some wrestling, some WWE wrestling there on the gaming side. So check out Wrecked with Ranger. We thank all of you guys for tuning in tonight on Sunday night with us to recap the race. Check us out on all of our other shows we have to offer you. If you guys have any comments, please make sure you're letting us know Tell your friends and family about us. We are locally grown fans trying to do this and give you guys a different perspective outside of the mainstream. So again, we thank you all for everything you guys do, showing up every night. You guys have God bless you. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Sunday night.